Hi, everybody. It's Steve Tarter, another edition of Tarter Sauce here at the palatial Peoria Journal Star in Peoria, Illinois.
Beautiful here, Steve. Yeah,
I always say palatial because people who've never been here probably might believe it. But anyway, hey, with me today, Jason Parkinson and Mark Hemmer from ONEFIRE.
Yeah.
And for folks,
great to be back.
Well, good to have you back. For folks who don't know, ONEFIRE, Peoria, Illinois, give us your elevator pitch on what is ONEFIRE?
Yeah, we're really a modern marketing company that helps other modern companies.
You use modern a lot.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, when you start looking at the digital space, and when I say modern, it's more about looking at forward-thinking technologies and how do they help companies grow better.
Okay.
Right? So everything from AR, VR, and mobile games down to blog posts and downloadable content, lead capture on your website. And we work with a variety of companies, large and small, all over the country.
And so, given that, and Mark, you can weigh in on this. Do you sometimes have to explain to people what you can offer them? In other words, a business that says, "So, what are you guys going to do for me?" I don't know if that comes in the sales call, or how do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, from a marketing and sales perspective, that's been an ongoing challenge. Explaining
who are you? What are you doing in my office?
Yeah.
And part of that, I think, has to do with technology changes so rapidly. You know, there's always the next new thing, and it's our responsibility to vet it and say, is this something that's actually going to be valuable for a business, or is this just noise, right? The #1 social networking app in the App Store right now, what do you think it is?
#1 social
networking app.
Facebook.
No, it's Zepeto.
Zepeto.
Of course.
What is Zepeto, you ask?
Yeah, what is Zepeto?
It probably doesn't matter to your business, right? Like, that's where we're trying to look at those types of trends and identify what is important to a business and what's just noise, and how can we use some of those tools to either generate leads, attract more people to a business, or whatever the outcome or the goal is for that company.
Now, give us a little background. ONEFIRE has been around how long?
Yeah, it'll be our 7th year next year.
So would you say, and Mark, how long have you been with them?
About 3 years.
So let's just take your time with them in those 3 years. Huge change or continual change, or how do you divide? How do you explain that?
I would say continual change. I mean, as Jason mentioned, the technology keeps changing, and so we have to change with that technology.
That's to me that would be kind of difficult.
It is difficult. Yeah, it's very difficult, especially in a marketing capacity with the company. I'm constantly having to come up with new ways to explain what we do and kind of refine that elevator pitch over time.
And not do just what you did the previous year.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
A whole new deal.
The core thing here is we're looking to help companies grow better, right? That's been the mission from day one, is how do we help companies grow, and how do we do it in a way where you're attracting, an audience that maybe you haven't, looked at in the past. As your customers start to get younger, and your business becomes more established and grows, over time, like there's the need to attract, more and more customers to your business. And so finding those customers and speaking to them in a language that they understand is really kind of the root of it.
I was reading the Wall Street Journal sort of in my usual slapdash manner, where you flip pages around. Oh, that interests me. That doesn't. And anyway, well, one thing came across, and that was an article somebody had written about the world in which we live, and it said every company now is involved with digital media.
Yeah,
would you buy that?
Yeah, there's
absolutely.
there's no longer, and we talked about this a little bit. There's no longer this online and offline. Like, it's just everything is one. This is the world that we're in. This is the new normal. And whether it be a podcast that you're creating from a newspaper company, right? Or whether it be a virtual reality experience that a business is creating to show somebody the products that they offer. Like, all of these things now, like a showroom is a showroom. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a physical showroom. It could be
online,
virtual or digital showroom, right?
Yeah, virtual. Mark, what about in this sort of changing world? How do you get across to an old line company, somebody that's, say, maybe manufacturing or whatever,
right,
that what you guys can offer? How do you get that across? It's not their language.
Yeah, when we were talking about change, older companies or kind of older guard companies are not very good at changing. We've changed often, and we've honestly become pretty good at
They're
it.
slow.
And so we're
slow.
able to show some of those companies how they can change and how they can adapt to new technology. And I think that's a real advantage that we bring.
People, well, and I guess this is human nature, but would you say from your experience with companies, they fear change?
I think that there's some fear of the unknown, right? Like, is this going to work for me? Or why do I need to change when what I've been doing for the last 30 years has worked just fine? Right? And there's kind of this idea of if you're not making that change, your competitor probably is. And so you have to start, keeping up with what others in your industry are doing as well. And if you can be first to do that and to kind of pioneer that, like first to market in a lot of things ends up, winning the game.
Okay. Are we changing the if it ain't broke, don't fix it adage? I mean, is that what it's...
I think it breaks over time. I think the problem is people don't see that their company is in fact in trouble or will be in trouble in the next 5 to 10 years.
If they don't do whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's easy to not act. I think about that, not to put myself on blast here. That's a young term.
Okay.
Blast. Yeah, there you go.
So not to put
That
myself...
means somebody could respond to you? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. This is basically me calling myself out. But,
okay.
But in weight gain. So for example, like if I were to eat a bunch of junk food, I might start gaining weight slowly. And I may not realize that it's too late until someone points out, like, "Hey, man, you look really round." And so I think companies.
Pardon my blast, but
I think when companies look at what they're doing today, they may think this is working fine, or if it's not working well, it's still working okay enough that I don't need to take action right now.
Right.
But if they keep telling themselves that, one day they wake up and they go, "Oh man,
why are we doing?
Our competitors
so
are way ahead, and all of a sudden, my sales aren't what they once were, my leads aren't what they once were, and I'm now in trouble." And at that point, acting is a lot more difficult.
The other thing that's kind of fascinating, a lot of companies want to take an approach of just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks and what works. Like, you need to be more strategic about this. Like, you have to identify what are your goals and who's your audience. And for example, like when people start getting into like running Facebook ads and doing some online marketing, right? That like we're not advocating that they pull all of their radio and TV and newsprint and those types of budgets. Like that would be ridiculous. Like you still reach a lot of people in those channels, but you have to identify if you're wanting to reach a younger audience, where are they spending their time? And you have to over time start allocating some of your budget and effort into reaching them. This is not like an all or nothing thing. Like you have to start slow and really be strategic about, the dollars that I'm spending on Facebook, who very specifically are they designed to bring in? What are their problems and challenges? And how does that lead me as a company to hitting my either sales goals or whatever those goals are?
We were just chatting before the show thing started, and you mentioned, we constantly hear the term millennial.
Yeah.
That's millennials doing this, millennials doing that.
The media has been talking about millennials for years.
Yeah, they really got onto that. But you were saying there's another group.
There is.
Yeah, and why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, Gen Z, right?
Gen Z.
Generation
Sounds like something I should take every morning.
Yeah, right. I know. Generation Z or post-millennial. These are the cohort of people that are coming up after millennials. So your millennials now are all in the workforce, right? I'm 35 years old. I was born in 1983. I'm on the cusp of that, like the older edge of the millennial, but all the way down, like everyone that is identified as a millennial is now in the workforce. Right. And so what about all of this audience that's in college today, in high school today, in junior high today? Like they're coming. There's 65 million of them in the United States right now. And some of the estimates in some of the studies that I've been reading say that there's going to be about $40 billion in spending power in this group by about 2020. Right, so that's a year away now. We're talking.
It's not far away.
Yeah, they're going to have a lot of money and making decisions on how they spend that money. And so a lot of companies still think that millennials are this young generation. Well, not anymore. Like Gen Z's the younger. And I was really thrilled the latest issue of IBI has an article about Gen Z in it. And it's neat to see even locally in the Peoria-area, people start to take notice of that, because we've been talking about it for a while now. And it's like, again, you walk into an old company and you say Gen Z and they go, why do I care about those kids? Yeah. Right? well, there's a need to care about them because they have a lot of spending power.
Right. Well, and obviously too, they I guess depending on their exact age, they might influence parents.
They will.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Or at least be a voice in the household.
Yeah, and they don't have a lot of responsibilities right now, so their money's more expendable, right? They can buy the things that they want and support the brands that they want, and they want to support companies that they can have a human interaction with and have a conversation with, not just a company who's trying to always sell them something. Like that's something that's kind of unique of that Gen Z audience. The other thing, and I'll mention, we work with an apartment complex that's located on a college campus, and so their main source of revenue is filling college apartments. And one of the tools that we've developed for them is a mobile game that's designed to attract college students to play this game on their phone, and they can win tangible prizes like free rent and free pizzas and things like that. And by playing this game on their phone, they're connecting with this brand in a different way than maybe they're connecting with other college apartment complexes.
And you guys devised the game?
Yeah, we developed the game. It's a platform of ours, so we're looking to even see how we could get that into other apartment complexes at other college campuses. But it's one of those things where by thinking outside of the box and using a tool like a mobile game as a marketing channel for some of these brands, it's a real win. There's an insurance company we did the same thing with. They actually try to sell insurance to orthodontists, and they're trying to reach graduates who are coming out of orthodontic school.
Well, that's a narrow market.
Very narrow.
Orthodontists coming out of school.
And you don't think about orthodontic insurance as being something fun, malpractice insurance or, liability insurance, right? But through a game that we help them develop, they're able to build these braces across teeth, and your little orthodontist guy runs across them. And if you fall a couple of times, it starts presenting you with information about why you need liability insurance.
You're forced to learn.
Yeah, it's a forced learning mechanism.
Yeah,
that they launched at this big trade show of theirs, and they had a ton of participants right away, people playing this game. And so now they're learning, they're getting a marketing channel that's more about the content and less about the banner ad or the outbound message that they can just ignore.
Do you guys, and I'm probably back in the dark ages here asking you this question, but do you guys still design websites?
Yeah, that's kind of funny that you mentioned that. So website design, there are 1,000 of great companies that just specialize in that. In fact, you can go to Squarespace and build one for $20 a month, or Wix on your own. Yes, we still build websites. Usually it's part of a larger engagement, right?
It's not a biggie. It's now a small.
If a company comes to us and says, hey, I need a new website, like we start asking the question, okay, why? What do you want this website to do for you? Are you trying to get it to generate leads? Are you just trying to show your products and not have any type of transaction happen? Like, what are you trying to do? And then we usually make a recommendation. Oh, that sounds like you could build this yourself for cheap, or this sounds like you could partner with a local company who specializes in websites. But if they're looking to try and do something, like if their goal from their site is we want to generate more leads from our website, or we want to start a blog where we can provide a lot of educational content to our existing customers, or if there's some deeper goal behind it, then we definitely step in and help, see that from start to finish. We've got the developers in-house to build it, not just websites, but other types of software applications.
A whole campaign.
Whole campaigns, yeah. And then we have the marketing muscle inside, to be able to promote it and make it actually work for them.
Now, you guys, I think the two of you do a podcast, or is there more people involved?
Yeah.
We do.
Well, why don't you plug that a little bit?
We're very comfortable sitting here in front of a mic right now, Steve.
Well, you're probably used to asking all the questions. Where does somebody find your podcast?
Yeah, so it's actually, you can search in the Apple Podcast app or Stitcher or Google Play. It's called Grow Up. It's all about Grow Up. Yep, it's about several things in growing up, but it's really about helping companies grow better through technology. So we talk every week about kind of a new piece of technology or a new way to market your company, and we kind of break that down. It's 15 to 20 minutes in length. We've got some dynamite guests lined up, a couple people that are business owners from Chicago that are going to be on in February. We actually talk all about Gen Z on the episode that's coming out on Tuesday. Every Tuesday morning, a new episode comes out. We actually had Megan Funky, who's a grad assistant at Bradley, who deals with Gen Z every day.
I bet.
Yeah, she's talking a little bit more in depth about Gen Z on the episode that's coming out on Tuesday next week. So
very good. Well, people want more info, beyond what we talk about, just touch on here, can go to that. Mark, what about, in terms of your daily routine? You said everything is always changing. So you don't have to give us your diary, but what's a typical day for you involve?
Start with the workout you had this morning, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah, a typical day. I mean, it's kind of hard.
Probably isn't such a thing, but go ahead.
Yeah. It's difficult to come up with a typical day because each day is really its own animal.
Which is a good thing.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm someone that really likes variety, and so this kind of role really does provide that. And many times it's meetings, it's on the phone, it's producing content. So it can be any number of things.
What do you? One of the things I just read, and in fact, I just blogged about it because it struck me as, I guess it's obvious. My wife would just say, "Duh," and you just realizing that? Yeah, as I often get that response. But it's like Nielsen had done probably is continually doing surveys, and this was about distracted TV viewing.
Okay.
So in other words, the typical viewer now has a digital device in one hand and probably the channel changer in the other.
Sure.
Oh, that's very
and maybe the screen is ahead of them or somewhere, if that. But they said only 12%, according to this survey, did not do that. Everyone else is doing it to some degree.
Yeah.
Either periodically looking at it or continually looking at it.
Oh, I can find my cell phone to my room now when I'm at home in the evenings because I will just, without even trying to flip through my phone while I'm trying to pay attention to a TV program.
You can get it pulled
I
away.
will sit down with every intention of, okay, I'm going to watch this episode of this show, and about maybe 2 or 3 minutes in, my eyes have drifted down to my cell phone, and I'm reading a news story while watching.
Oh yeah, it's captivating. Yeah.
And it took me a while to figure out, I just have to get this phone out of the room.
Well, I think for a lot of people too in our millennial age group, and especially in that Gen Z age group, I don't consume TV through the TV.
Okay, that's a good point.
We have a TV on our wall at our house. My son watches his, Ninja Turtle shows on it before bed. Everything that I consume is either through my phone or through my iPad. So I'm either watching, maybe logged into the CNN app on my iPad and watching live news that way, or it's Netflix, Hulu, HBO Go, Amazon Prime. I'm watching The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel on Amazon Prime
good.
now. Phenomenal show.
But
what's great about that is because the device is here, I get to consume it and not be distracted by the device because I'm consuming it on the device.
Yeah.
And then with
You're not going back and forth.
Yeah.
You're on it.
And with Amazon, I'll recognize somebody in the show and I'll be like, oh, I know that person. And I can just tap the X-ray button and it gives me, here's every actor that's on the screen right now, here's the song that's playing, and here's their entire filmography history of everything else they've been in. I can just tap on it and get it. So
That's fun.
It's not distracting, it's adding a layer on top of too, right? But if you think about it in terms of commercial television, and this is not to beat up the TV companies that try to sell commercials, but I'm sorry, I haven't watched a television commercial and I can't tell you how long, right? True. I pay for Hulu and Netflix so I don't have to. When I had a DVR box, I fast forwarded through commercials. And if I am forced to watch a commercial during a live program, I'm at my phone on Facebook or Instagram or.
And you're probably not alone. I mean,
I'm not alone.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, if 12% of people are the only ones that don't have a device in their hand when they're watching TV, right?
Yep.
You've got a huge portion of the population that's not paying attention to TV commercials anymore.
Right.
And there's still the 12% that are. And if that 12% are in your target audience of who you're trying to reach as a business, you absolutely have to advertise in TV. But if you've got a percentage of the population who's not paying attention to that ad, it's smart to start allocating the budget into some places that you can be strategic to reach them with a message.
And this is just sort of the tip of the iceberg of the changes in media,
right?
That you've seen. You were on radio, and obviously that's an ever-changing thing. We can talk about the newspaper. We won't, but we could talk about that.
Sure.
That's too depressing. But the thing that I noticed with television, with the Netflix, and with all that is going on now, it's almost like we know you're distracted, or you could be potentially distracted, but that's okay because we got at least part of your attention.
Yeah.
It's almost like
True.
that. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that that's true. Netflix, specifically, that you mentioned, what's fascinating, they just rolled out an episode of this show called Black Mirror. And the thing that's been really neat about this episode is that it's kind of like a choose-your-own-adventure book where every so often it prompts you which path do you want the character to take. And so you're interacting with it. And what's really cool about it, they've figured out a way. They ask you, one of the first questions they ask you in the episode is, which cereal do you want this character to eat in the morning? But then what's fascinating about it is, unlike Choose Your Own Adventure books, they're actually able to later in the program, 30 minutes into the program, come back to that choice that you made earlier and resurface it. So there's a commercial playing on the television set in the background
of that cereal.
For the cereal choice that you made 5 minutes into the episode.
Wow.
And so thinking about, and Netflix has built a platform to be able to build these types of shows now. So you're going to see a lot more of that type of content coming out, where your traditional just zone out to the TV, like that's evolving now. And when you start looking at even VR television shows and things of that nature, where you're not just staring at what the director wants you to see, but now you're fully immersed and you can look around at the entire scenery as if you were actually sitting there with the actors. Like, all of that's really changing, like, consumption of media.
When you were talking, Jason, we're talking with Jason Parkinson and Mark Hammer from ONEFIRE in Peoria. I was thinking of that whole business of allowing the audience to shape the plot.
Yeah.
I can just imagine some different versions of Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
And various other things, because, they keep coming out with sequels that, sort of go the same way. Maybe now we can divert it a little bit.
Sure.
Lord knows where that would lead.
Another example of this is HQ Trivia. If you're familiar, this is an app called HQ Trivia. Every night at 8 p.m. they do a live game show. And all you have to do is open up the app and you can watch the game show, and you're playing in the game show. So you win real money. They've given away like $5,000, $10,000 prizes, and it's 12 questions that they ask. And if you answer all 12 right, you split the pot of money.
With whoever
else has gotten them
12
all right. Yeah.
Wow.
And so what's neat about that is, again, it takes this passive idea of just consuming a game show and watching the contestants to now you're in the game show and you're playing, and your answer actually matters and can win you real money sitting at home on your couch.
Is that sponsored?
Yeah, that's how they achieve that. And they have some of the questions sometimes are sponsored. You'll never see like a commercial in it.
But they work it in.
The content, the content is where the message lies, so that a Gen Z or a millennial person who's watching this doesn't feel put off by the fact that, I got to watch a commercial or a pre-roll ad or any of that stuff. It's just, I'm learning about the product or service as part of the experience. And that's what we're trying to create at ONEFIRE. Not to the level of live game shows, but with mobile games. Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, that's tomorrow. But with like live chat on websites, with mobile games, with AR and VR, it's creating an experience that a consumer can get the information that they need without it feeling like an advertisement.
You guys are located in the warehouse district in Peoria. And for folks who don't know, that's an area that has been gone through quite a transformation.
It has, yeah.
In what, the last 10 years?
Yep.
But how is life in the warehouse district? You guys are right there on a daily basis.
Yeah, we really like being there. The neat thing about it is it's neat to see all of the different businesses that continue to grow. Sous Chef's right across the street from us now. That Soulside Healing Arts is over there in that building. It's just kind of neat to see that even though, like, when we moved in, we were the far south kind of anchor.
Right.
And now there's like an art studio across the street. There's the yoga, the grocery store, like all this stuff is kind of like starting to move that direction. So yeah, the economic development stuff in Peoria, despite the fact that, Big Yellow moved their headquarters to Deerfield, there's still a lot of stuff going on. And with OSF's investment downtown and all of those things, it's a neat place to be. I will say we have way more space than is necessary in our building down there. What's neat about our company is, and it's just the world that we live in, right? Everybody can work remote.
Right.
We don't need a big fancy office to deliver the same or better results for a customer. So I think that over the next I don't know, 5 to 10 years, like even where we're at, could be a different model for our company. But the warehouse district is phenomenal.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I was thinking when and we just talk about Caterpillar since you brought it up. When they first announced their plan for a downtown headquarters, it was this sort of 2-tower or whatever number of things, and then I thought, and that was like 4 years ago.
Yeah,
3 or 4 years ago. And then, of course, we know what happened with that. But they were going to level everything down there, which now OSF is going to restore.
Yeah.
The old block and cool building. But I'm thinking in that time period, and maybe it's not a matter of time, I wonder if Caterpillar thought, we don't really need all the office space that we've always needed in the past.
Yeah.
That
the model's changing.
Yeah.
Because
even the idea of open work spaces, which have been proven positive and negative depending on the type of company you're in, but like there's a lot of even like the OSF Jump Simulation Center. They've got a lot of spaces where you can come in and plug your laptop in and work, but that may not be your true desk space, right?
Right.
So you can
changeable.
You can have less building for more employees now because of the technology, even on people's phones or laptop computers. They can work from anywhere.
Okay. Well, it's fascinating just listening to all that's going on with in your business. You mentioned IBI, and we don't mind giving other media print. Print media has to stick together. Or we go.
I really like their innovation issue that they do in January. They ask us to be a part of that every year, and the thing that's interesting about it is it's just kind of a neat resource to look at in the area in Peoria, everything that's going on here in terms of innovation and forward-thinking companies here. And it's a reassuring feeling for me, who's been a lifelong resident of Central Illinois, and I put my stake in the ground here in Peoria. I'm a homeowner here. Like I'm not going anywhere.
Are you running for office, Jason?
Yeah, right. Yes, vote for no. No, I'm going to stay away from politics as long as I can. But it's one of those things where it's neat to see the positive things, because oftentimes in the media you hear about a lot of the negative things.
Oh,
it's nice to have that other side.
Well, let me ask you that. Now you guys are probably, I don't know if you can be objective on this question, but you both can answer this. Is it a PR thing, or is it true? That Peoria is a tech place.
I think that it's true. I mean, I've done last year. I wrote a piece about Peoria's tech community, and in my research and talking to people that are involved, I would say it's absolutely true.
Yeah, compared to other places, like we could go. I mean, obviously, with Silicon Valley or Boston or something. Yeah. But other communities, average size or whatever, we're ahead of the game.
I would absolutely say that. Yeah.
Yeah, especially with great investments in technology like what Jump Simulation's making, and even other companies in our area that are allies and competitors, kind of depending on the situation. CSE's doing some incredible things with simulation software. Just really looking at all of the players, and then kind of that startup community that Rand and Getty's is kind of been driving through the EDC. Right. It's a neat place, and it's one that we're certainly happy to be in, especially when you look at us and compared to other cities our size and similar infrastructure. Obviously, Chicago's got a pretty strong tech community. These bigger top 10 markets do. But yeah, I'm pretty proud of what Peoria's accomplishing.
Do you remember? And I'm sounding an old theme here, but do you remember? And I don't know that you would have been working at the time. You might have been in school, but when they had that promotion in Peoria about the pigs. Everyone had these different pigs all around.
Different decorated
based, I think, on Chicago, had done cows.
They did cows, right?
Yeah. So we did pigs here. Well, I've said this before. Probably on a podcast. Matt's probably cringing because he's not bringing that up again, is he? Well, I am.
You want pigs back?
No.
Oh,
I want robots.
Oh, robots.
See, to play the tech thing.
Yeah.
Everyone get their own little robot, big robot, whatever it is. Cat could do a robot. I mean, everyone could do a robot. You guys obviously would have be a fascinating one.
Yep.
But I think we need to do that, because that would sell technology at every portal.
Sure.
That's very
But I'll leave that with you guys to work on.
That's a neat idea.
You're the marketing guy. You run with that.
I can try.
The other thing with the pigs and cows that I'll just mention, the art community in Peoria.
Oh, good.
Is phenomenal.
Nice segue.
No, but that marriage of technology and art, I think, is the sweet spot.
Well, you're seeing it in the
Peoria.
warehouse district.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the murals and everything else.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's something where other communities may have a strong artistic vibe or may have a strong technology vibe, but I don't know, the marriage of those two things together here in Peoria really is a unique thing. And I can't tell you the number of people, even when I worked in radio, right? We would bring in these big market DJs from other places. And even after they were done with their career on the radio station, that's a pretty high turnover gig, as you know.
Sure.
They stay in the area because this is a place where they're like, man, like, you know, I've made my home here. And so that's one of those things where even though people are leaving the state of Illinois, and we won't get into state politics today, but, you know, I feel like people that come to Peoria that maybe aren't familiar with everything that it has to offer and they stay here for a couple years really start to realize, man, the cost of living here is great. The amenities are great. I'm a short drive from anything I need to get to. And it's really a win. So
I wonder about that, the short drive part, because I think you know, maybe various people have various sensitivity to it, but if you go to Chicago or any large city, there's the commute issue. There's just driving into town is an issue. You know, people opt for trains and transit whenever possible. I think that's undersold in Peoria, and communities like Peoria, obviously Springfield and others have the same thing, but you know, Peoria could make a good case for, hey, what is it they say? The rush hour lasts 20 minutes in Peoria or something like that.
Right.
You know, and that's true.
Yep.
You know, I think it's a selling point.
And that's even part of the reason, like, the length of our podcast is 15 to 20 minutes. We want you to be able to consume it on the way to work, right?
You guys think of everything.
Easy. But even when you look at the manufacturing community we have here, like, Peoria is really great for that because of the highway infrastructure, right? You can very easily get, and even, you know, look at Bloomington right there being on 55. Like, it's very easy to get anywhere you need to transport large products too. So, and I think historically with the river here and everything, that's part of what has made Peoria a strong manufacturing community, is that ease of, you know, the transportation network. But as a commuter, there's no rush hour here, and the rush hour is not, you know.
Well, we'll see when they close the Murray Baker Bridge.
I know.
I've heard that's coming.
That's coming.
I think they're routing all that traffic right past our building.
Yeah.
So that'll be.
You guys will be singing a different song. I gotta go. Well, let me come back and tell us how that's going.
Right.
All right. Well, hey, we've been talking with Jason Parkinson and Mark Hammer of ONEFIRE. Guys, we always like having you because it's like an injection of vitality and find out what's going on.
That's just the coffee talking, Steve.
Well, that's why we do it in the morning. See, we gotta hit you up hard.
Well, thanks for the opportunity.
Well, we always appreciate coming in.
Love listening to Tarter Source and everything that you've got going on here, and it's nice to have that tie into the community. And be able to kind of get a breadth of different things going on here through your podcast.
Well, and we'll stay in touch with you because I think, you know, a lot of us, you know, we think we know what's going on, but you guys have, you know, national ties.
We do.
It's a good thing to be able to say, like, for instance, what was the one thing you said, the most used app?
Zepeto.
Yeah, you can explain what Zepeto is next time because I still don't know. I think it was the guy who owned Pinocchio, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's
all right. Yeah. All right, that's it for our Tarter Sauce this week. Thanks to Matt Dayhoff at the controls who gets this thing out to everybody. And we'll see you next time on Tarter Sauce.
Thanks, Steve.